Meditations. In the first book of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius lays out many virtues that which he learned in his life, and calls those who have taught him these by name. I won't be really touching into who these people were, but instead the virtues which Marcus Aurelius learned from them. From here on out, I paraphrase those virtues which I find both beautiful but also worth sharing, and attach my comment. From Verus, Aurelius learned good morals and the government of temper. Although good morals are not exactly outlined, they become more apparent the further you read, and although morals is used, it seems to me like they are more of ethical statements, as rarely does it imply a negative connotation as far as for what we concern with what we define as morality. Secondly, Verus shows him the virtue of controlling his temper. It is a common theme with the wisdoms taught in religions and schools of thought of the world, the tenet to be short to anger, and thus the lesson here is the necessity to think before we act. How often do men burst out in anger just to be chastised permanently for what was a momentary feeling? From Father Aurelius, a wealthy man, was given the virtue of living with modesty. My comment here is in agreement, and the question, what is to be gained when one sticks their nose up and scorns others for material possessions? What is gained when one looks down on the pauper on the streets? And what is gained from the comparison to others? These are just questions that I offer you that you may consider for contemplating modesty. From Father, the virtue of behaving in a manly fashion. Now what I believe here is meant behaving in consideration towards your fellow man, and not things that are particularly masculine in nature. What a manly fashion is further outlined by these virtues. From Mother, piety, simplicity of living, and freedom of evil. Piety to me is not necessarily a belief in God, but definitely a philosophy of life that would distinguish humans from animals, or animals would be the more virtuous of these compared to the hedonists. Much of the world's problems are seen easily in humans who ravish the necessity to live lavishly, forgetting that somewhere in the world, someone always pays the price sooner or later. Living simply would easily make the world a better place. Finally, and pretty self-explanatory, is to live without doing evil to others and being free of evil thoughts. The golden rule easily comes to mind. Do unto others as you'd have done unto yourself, but here with an interesting twist. That being, think of others as you'd like to be thought of. Although evil is a moral and philosophical problem, and for the sake of the aforesaid statements, I'll just define them as the intention to cause harm for the reasons other than self-preservation.